Hey guys, this recap's about 2 weeks late, but I spent about a week loading and unloading all of our belongings. We moved out of state and we are getting settled in. So I spent about a week doing that, and then we had to prep for a business trip, and then we had to head back to Chicago to visit some family. So we have been super, super busy, but I did watch episode 14 and I jotted down a little recap, so I thought that I would still make a video just in case anyone was looking for a recap for 2 episodes ago. So tomorrow is Wednesday and a new episode will air. And I actually, coincidentally, in all the chaos, missed episode 15. So this recapper needs a recap. Anyhow, Jane the Virgin, season 5, episode 14, or chapter 95, depending on how you like to keep track. For this episode, I will be going back to doing my recap by character rather than in the order in which things happened in the episode. This episode was full of heartwarming flashbacks. A storm is brewing, and meanwhile, everyone is super preoccupied with their own things to care about Jane's wedding planning. Granted, it is 2 weddings in 6 years, but no judgment. Let's start with Petra, also known as the official 100% owner of the Marbella. She sees Raph chatting with a well-known chef and asks for a meeting, and Raph admits he misses being in that world. Because don't forget, the Marbella used to be his. Petra actually picks up on Raph's feelings and offers him a job and a percentage of everything the hotel makes. He gets his old office back, and it triggers a montage of Jane popping into his office when she was pregnant. It was so cute. Raph and Petra clash in a meeting, though, and Petra feels she is the rightful owner, and Raph should not voice an opinion without her permission. Raph reminds her that she got the Marbella only after all the sneaky mess with Louisa, and then Petra explains that she received the hotel in shambles. She did all of the hard work, and she says Raph would be nothing without his daddy's money. Pretty freaking harsh considering she wouldn't be where she is without her various boyfriends' money and a whole lot of scheming. But anyhow, I suppose she's got good taste in window treatment, so whatevs. Petra calls from a dark car, and she and Raph have a nice talk. She explains she's been on her own for so long that she isn't used to letting someone else have a say. And her family has come a long way, so she doesn't want to jeopardize that. Raph agrees to step away from the Marbella if things get weird. More on the dark car later. Rogelio has the idea to put his home life on Instagram Live to help promote This Is Mars in hopes it will be picked up. And Zoe keeps examining everyone now that she's reading medical literature. She tells Rogelio that his heartbeat sounds irregular, but he blows her off. Then he has what they called an electric problem with his heart. I forget the medical term, but they kind of dumbed it down for me, which I'm thankful for. An electric problem with his heart due to stress. Later, everyone gathers to welcome Rogelio home from the hospital. Alba gives a beautiful speech about appreciating what they have, and Zoe gets into nursing school. So the biggest storyline, I guess, in this episode is that Lena comes to town to help Jane dress shop as she is going to design school. It turns out Lena and Danny are having trouble conceiving, so she asks Jane for her eggs. Just some of them. Jane says she'll consider this huge favor, but everyone thinks it's a really bad idea. Raph says he'll support her choice, but he doesn't think she'll be able to let go. It's never clear which way she's leaning throughout the episode. At times it seems like she was on the verge of agreeing because of how happy her surprise pregnancy and Mateo have made her, and of course there's lots of flashbacks for that. But then she also seemed like she wouldn't be able to let go and wasn't sure about Lena's decision making or possible parenting. Jane has a series of questions for Lena, and things get heated because she's already having trouble letting go. Mateo overheard Jane and Raph talking and misunderstood and decides to tell his class that Jane is pregnant, which leads to a few uncomfortable encounters. Jane explains the situation to Mateo, which leads to a flashback montage of her pregnancy. Jane and Lena go dress shopping again, and Jane has even more in-depth questions about the embryos, and Lena gets upset because she feels judged and guilty that she can't have a baby on her own. During a third chat, Jane explains how her history with her parents affects how she feels about Lena being honest with the hypothetical or potential baby. So Lena asks to hear Jane's list of 37 questions that she knows is in her bag. Jane ultimately decides to give Lena her eggs, but not to worry because Lena no longer wants them. She decides to use one of her sisters as a donor, so not to complicate her relationship with Jane. But she does want Jane to be the guardian if something happens to her and Danny. Lena will also be designing Jane's wedding dress, which I'm excited about, after Jane is forced to buy a hideous one that she ran out of the store with when she rushed to the hospital for Rogelio. Okay, now for Jane and Raph. Raphael ends up having to cancel on Jane several times and even ends up at happy hour with a client. The minister decides not to officiate Jane's wedding because Raph doesn't show up for their appointment, so Jane goes off on him in defense of Raph. They definitely set it up to look like Raph was, going back to his old ways. Remember when he was like ditching Jane and Lamaze and stuff and was letting Jane down. So you think Jane is going to be upset, but she actually defends him and tells him that she understands he is devoted to his family, and all of the baby talk has Jane eager to discuss their adoption timeline. And then Raph drops a bomb and says he doesn't want more kids. All I could think was that goddamn scheming ass Petra ended up with more kids that she didn't even want initially. Don't even get me started. So how can Jane not have more? If only that other sample went to Raphael. But Jane explains that there are no deal breakers with her and Raphael right now, and the narrator says one of them will change their mind. After Alba's speech at Rogelio's house, Raphael has the idea to make Alba their officiant for their wedding, and Jane thinks it's a great idea, and I'm super excited to see that because I know it's going to be like super sweet and heartfelt and well said and in Spanish. It's going to be awesome. Back to when Petra and Raph were arguing about the meeting. Raph chatted with Jane about it, and he was bummed about not speaking to his best man, aka Petra. So Jane explained the hotel is now Petra's baby, and Raph just needs to let go, which, my God, that's got to be difficult. Bringing us back to the show's ending, where Petra calls Raph to work things out from her dark car in a dark garage, and who should pop up from the backseat, complete with a floral eye patch, demanding Petra's help, but Magda. The episode ends with a possible car crash. Hopefully Petra is alright, but something tells me she's going to need a bit more help from Raph.